Alright, so this week we're going to be talking about the 1920s. But first of all, let's do a little bit of a review. So last week we talked a lot about some very important things that happened in the 2 years before the 1920s. So, who remembers what happened, one of the important things that happened in 1918? There were a lot of things, but what's something that really stands out? Someone wants to share. Yes, Tim?
The end of the First World War.
Exactly, it's a really big one. So I hope you remember that one. Does anyone remember when exactly it ended within 1918? Does anyone know the date? No one. Chris, you want to try?
Was it in November?
It was. Does anyone else want to guess?
Was it the 17th?
Close. So it was November 11th, 1918 at 11 a.m. And what's super fun about that is that it's the 11th hour of the 11th month, or the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month. So it's kind of a funny thing there. Alright. What about in 1919, in the next year? What's one of the things that really stood out in that year? Does anyone want to take a guess? No guesses? There's gotta be some guesses. It's okay if they're wrong. Yes, Tim?
This was that when Austria-Hungary was divided into a number of states?
Good ideas. Any other ideas? No more ideas? Okay. So, women got the right to vote. It's a pretty big deal, and we're going to talk a little bit more about women in the 1920s. It's very exciting stuff. Alright, so let's move forward, and we're going to learn more about the 1920s. So this is more of an introduction, since this is the beginning of the week. And we'll get a lot more into details and important people and things that made this decade a huge decade later in the week. But we're just going to go into more of an intro adventure into some really big, exciting new things that happened in the 20s. So sometimes the 20s are called the Roaring 20s. What do you think of when you hear a roar?
Lions. Dang it, you said.
Very good. Unanimous answer. Yes, Jim, do you have something else?
I would say Hardee's.
Hardee's? Oh, I like that. Exactly. So, I was thinking lions, but I did like Hardee's. That's a good addition. That goes with it too. So lions. How would anyone describe a lion to me? Please raise your hands. Who wants to share? How would you describe a lion?
Soft.
Soft? Okay. Anything else?
Yeah.
They do have teeth. What else? Yes, Kate.
They're big.
They're big. They roar, they're big, they have teeth. Yes.
They're gold.
They're gold. Okay. So how that relates to the 20s, you can see we're not going to cover, like I said, we're not going to cover everything. What we are going to cover today is going to show how the 20s were big and they were strong and they were loud, just like lions, kind of like the Roaring 20s. All right. So we're going to talk about a lot of different things, but we're also going to talk about how there's a very big booming economy and things were changing in regards to that. Does anyone know what economy is, or would like to take a guess about what that might mean? Yes, Katie.
Is it money?
It is money. Does anyone want to add anything else? Tim?
It involves buying and selling things, right?
Exactly. Perfect. Are there any other ideas? No more ideas? Okay, well those were good ideas. Thank you for sharing. So, like you said before, economy means a lot about money, about buying and selling and how that works together. So in this time, people were spending a lot of money, and a lot of it was on things like entertainment. So let's get any ideas. What are some ways of entertainment that we have today? Yes,
I
Mike.
have my Nintendo.
Nintendo, very cool. Chris?
I play Xbox.
Xbox, those are kind of cool because those are ways of technology. We're going to talk about more technology in a minute. Any other ideas? Yes, Tim.
Movies.
Movies, yes, so exactly. Yes. Chuck E. Cheese, perfect. That kind of looks like Chuck E. Cheese. So what are some things that you think they used for entertainment in that time? Things were a little bit different. Yes.
Music.
Music, exactly. Anything else? Hayden?
Dancing.
Dancing, perfect, yes. So I love all those ideas, but I really like how Tim brought up movies. So people were spending a lot on entertainment, and specifically movies were a big change because before then, most movies were all completely silent. So sometimes they'd have some music in the background, and a lot of times people would be playing a piano for the music, but you didn't really have people talking in the movies like we do today. And once they start introducing that in the 20s, those movies were called talkies. All right. So, there was a new thing introduced here. We had a lot of things with entertainment and people are spending money, and we had the introduction of credit. Now, it's not exactly how your mom and dad use credit cards, but it is the same idea, where you didn't have to pay for something right away, or at least you didn't have to pay the full amount right away. And that made it a lot easier for people to buy things. And with that, we also had some new technology. And that was also very exciting. So what kind of technology are things that you guys have? You guys mentioned your Nintendo and your Xbox. What other technology do we use on a daily basis? Yes.
A phone.
A phone. We didn't have those.
I don't know.
It was different. Yes.
Refrigerator.
Refrigerator. We're going to talk about that. Yes. Anything else?
Microwave.
Microwave? Yes. That wasn't there then. So you see, in the 1920s, they didn't have any of those things. Or if there were similar things, it was very different. So, what they were also very excited about, a new form of technology, that we kind of think about technology differently, but theirs was cars.
Ooh.
Imagine how different it would be if we didn't have cars. We'd be really tired, we wouldn't get very far. Alright, so, they also now had cars, and with credit allowing them to not have to pay for things right away, or being able to pay for things little by little as time went on, cars that were really expensive were now actually available for people to buy, and it made their daily lives a lot easier, because they didn't have to walk everywhere. So, there were also a lot of other ways that people's lives got a lot easier through technology and money that we have now. And one of the new things was, does anyone take a guess? It's okay, it's the wrong guess. Okay. We had electricity in the houses. Not that we didn't have electricity before, but it was common more to have it inside your house in a vast majority of houses. So that was really helpful. And with electricity in the house, technology that we had now in the house, we could actually power and make it a lot easier in our normal lives, especially for all the women that worked in the homes. So, with that electricity in the houses, we were able to use things like washing machines and refrigerators, like you said, and radios. So, talk to your neighbor about how different things would be in your house if you didn't have some of this common technology in your house every day.
It would be so different.
It would be so. It gets kind of dark. Some parts of here gets darker, so they,
Listen to my radio all day.
yeah, you can't just turn the light on or.
So
You did that, you
No, because I turn on the
Yeah.
record.
Oh, yeah.
Real talk.
Holy dogs. I'll burn myself.
All
How
right,
did people live?
great conversation,
That's funny.
great ideas. Does anyone want to share anything that their neighbor shared with them that they thought was a really good idea? What? Okay, that's all right. Anybody else?
Jonas said he lives in a cave.
Really? I'd like to hear more about that later.
Yeah. It's called Flex.
All right, so let's see. How different would your life be, let's say, just without refrigerators? Yes,
We might be able to have ice cream.
we would not. It wouldn't
Do
work
we
out.
still have a freezer though?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
No freezers.
Yeah.
Yes, Tim?
We'd have to buy new food every day because
Yeah.
otherwise, otherwise if you leave like food out, it goes bad, so.
Exactly. It would be a pain. It would be very difficult. What about things like cars? How would your life, imagine today you came to school, you're here in school, after school, your mom or dad is going to pick you up, you're going to go home. How different would that look if they didn't have a car to come get you? Yes.
Well,
You could right here.
can we still take the bus?
You could take a bus if they have them, but you know, some places might have something kind of like a bus, some places might not, depends on how much money they have. And you'd have to see.
I walk to school.
Okay, well see then I guess yours would be exactly the same. You're living in the old times. Yes.
Do they have bicycles?
You know, that's a great question. I don't know the answer of who exactly had bicycles. I assume they did. I don't know how common it would be, but I will find out for you and get back to you on that.
Thank you.
You are welcome. All right, so we should be very grateful for the technology and the electricity and the ease of our lives that we have today. So now let's go back a little bit and talk about women once again. So, remember how we just reviewed that in 1919 women got the right to vote, right? Yes? Okay. Well, when women began to grow in society even more in other ways, besides voting, and now they're being able to become more educated as one. And then also because of that, and on the side of that, they began to work more outside of the homes. Those are usually in jobs such as nurses, teachers, secretaries, clerks, things like that. They weren't limited to those things, but those are some common jobs. Do any of your moms work? Yeah? Chris, what does your mom do?
She manages buses.
Very cool. Kaden, what does your mom do?
She's a teacher.
Very cool. Anybody else want to share? 10.
My mom's an accountant.
Awesome. All right, what about for the girls in this class? Do either of you want to work when you grow up? Yes? What do you want to do?
I want to teach.
You want to teach? Cool. Kaden, what do you want to do?
I don't know.
You don't know? You know you want to work. It's exciting. That's awesome.
I could be an astronaut.
Very cool, exactly. So think about how different, say, like your mom's lives would look, or your future lives would look, if you didn't have the opportunity to be able to work outside the house. Think about how differently it would be if women didn't start working more in the past. Things would be different today. We're going to be grateful that they did that in the past before. All right, so let's think about it. Some women, things kept progressing. Some women tried to kind of be rebellious and step outside of set expectations that were set for women, especially in ways of how they dressed. See, today we kind of all dress in a similar fashion, but if someone were to come dressed in like a Halloween costume to school, that'd be a little crazy.
What if it
So-
was on Halloween though?
If it was on Halloween, that'd be different, you're right. You're right. So, these women were mostly called flappers. Going to Halloween, because sometimes you may have seen outfits like this as Halloween costumes. But in that time, that's what they chose to wear on their everyday. So you kind of tell, a lot of times the women chose to cut their hair very short because it was the norm to have your hair very long. And they chose to wear shorter skirts because usually women had very long skirts. So they're kind of trying to shock people a little bit just to show that they could be different and they didn't have to confine to certain standards. So these women were called flappers. And like it says, they tried to just rebel against the traditional ideas of what was ladylike. All right, does anyone else have any comments about flappers today or anything they'd like to share? Yes, Tim?
How were they able to do this without like their father's permission? I mean, I remember you talked about this last week.
So, that's a great question. A lot of these women, they might be older, they may be married, and maybe they need to ask for their husband's permission. I don't know. So it was kind of a whole act of rebelling to where they were doing things without permission, and it got a little risky. So, that's kind of the whole purpose of it. We're going to talk a lot more about that when we get more into the details and nitty-gritty throughout the week. This is more just the intro. But, so, that was that. Thank you for coming into this intro adventure into the 1920s or the Roaring 20s with me. And I hope it was at least exciting enough to spark your interest to stay coming to class, as long as you have to come to class, but at least to stay focused in class for the rest of the week. All right.
Yeah.